The sound of dole beads echoed through the air as the mehendi ceremony was in full swing. Laughter, the hum of conversations, and clicks of bangles surrounded Wayan as she sat on a low cushion in the courtyard. Letting the mehendi artist work her magic on her hands, the fragrance of marigolds and jasmine filled the air. Adding to the festive aura of the Indian wedding that had taken over their home. Wayan's brother's wedding was in 2 days and the celebrations had already begun. She was the groom's sister, and as per the tradition, her hands were being adorned with intricate henna patterns. However, her mind wasn't exactly focused on the ceremony. She was too distracted, her phone nestled between her ear and shoulder as she talked to Taehyung on the other end of the line. Taehyung, her brother's best friend. He'd flown all the way from Korea to be a part of the wedding, and though they had certain enemy dynamic going on, something much deeper lay beneath the surface. The teasing, the bickering, and the back and forth banter they shared masked something they kept secret. The fact that they were more than just frenemies, they had been secretly having feelings for each other for months now, but no one knew. Are you coming to the function today or not? Wayan asked through the phone, her voice low to not disturb the woman chatting around her. On the other hand, Taehyung chuckled, his deep voice sending shivers down her spine. Shut up, Taehyung. It's not like that. Just want to know if you're going to show up like a proper best friend or just laze around in your hotel room. You're worried I'll steal all the attention if I showed up looking too good, he teased. Van rolled her eyes. God, you're so full of yourself. As they bantered, the Mehendi artist had been working quietly, her hands swift and skilled as she completed the elaborate designs. Without interrupting Wayan's conversation, she softly asked, should I write someone's name on your hand? Lost in the rhythm of her conversation with Taehyung, Wayan hadn't even heard the question. The mehendi artist asked again. Name? Distracted, Wayan thought the artist was asking who she was talking to, and absent mindedly replied Taehyung before rolling her eyes at something he had said on the phone. The artist, assuming this was the name Wayan wanted on her hand, delicately inscribed it on her palm, surrounding by the swirls of the henna. Alright, I'll be there soon, Taehyung said, his voice laced with playful arrogance before hanging up. Van groaned and put her phone away, finally focusing on her mehendi. She admired the pattern, smiling at how beautifully the artist had done the work, but as her gaze shifted to her palm, her smile dropped. There, in the center of the intricate design, was Taehyung's name. Her eyes widened, breath caught in her throat. What the hell? She thought, panic set in. How could she explain this to her family, to her brother, and most importantly, how would she explain it to him? Van quickly turned to the artist, her voice a bit frantic. Why did you write his name? You said Taehyung, didn't you? The woman replied calmly, continuing her work on the other hand. I thought you wanted his name. Van's mind raced, realizing she had indeed said his name, but without thinking, she cursed under the breath, trying to figure out how she'd fix this. She got up carefully, excusing herself from the group, and ran inside the house to the wash station. She was about to wash the henna off, but as if on cue, Taehyung scared her from behind. Anne flinched and let out a small scream before turning around and seeing Taehyung laughing. He was dressed in a light kurta with his hair slightly tousled. Taehyung looked effortlessly handsome. His presence was magnetic. At a normal time, Vine would have glared at him for scaring her, but right now she had another task at hand. Enjoying the ceremony alone here, he teased, a smirk forming on his lips. Wan tried to hide her hand, but Taehyung, always observant, had already noticed something was off. He raised an eyebrow and leaned closer as she moved backwards, his voice dropping to a low murmur. What are you hiding? Nothing, she replied too quickly, attempting to sound nonchalant, but the slight panic in her voice betrayed her. Is that so? He smirked, effortlessly pulling her hand from behind. His eyes immediately found the henna, and there, in the middle of the beautiful design, was his name. For a moment there was silence. Wayan's heart raced as she waited for his reaction. He blinked, staring at the henna, and then broke into a slow, mischievous grin followed by a chuckle. Well, 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 he drawled, his deep voice talking on a teasing edge. Look who's been thinking about me. Wine groaned, snatching her hand back, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. It was a mistake. I was distracted, and the artist asked for a name, and I was talking to you, so I said your name by accident. Taehyung leaned in closer, his eyes twinkling with amusement. You accidentally had my name written on your hand. That's a bit too convenient, don't you think? Wyan shot him a glare, though it didn't help that her cheeks were still flushed. Don't flatter yourself. I'm going to fix it. Oh no, you're not, Taehyung said, his voice suddenly more serious. His hand caught her arm gently, holding it in place as he stared at the henna on her palm. I like it. His eyes chased the design again, sending shivers up her arm. Their playful dynamic suddenly shifted, the air between them thickening with tension. You like it? Vine whispered, her heart hammering in her chest. Taehyung nodded, his gaze still locked on her hand. You don't need to fix it, Vine. Leave it. My name, it looks good on you. His words held a deeper meaning, and Vine felt her pulse quicken at the intensity in his voice. They could hear the crowded courtyard filled with the laughter and music. The faded noises coming in the background from outside, but inside it was just the two of them now. The world around them fading as they stood close, Taehyung's hand gripping on her arms. You know, he murmured softly, if anyone sees this. Ryan's breath hitched as she felt the weight of his words. The truth they had been hiding for so long lingered in the air between them. She bit her lip, trying to gather her thoughts, but Taehyung's proximity was making it hard to think clearly. Is that a bad thing? She replied back, her eyes flickering to his. Taehyung's gaze softened. His teasing smirk fading into something more sincere. It's not bad, not at all. He cupped her cheeks gently, his thumb grazing her skin. In fact, I wouldn't mind if everyone knew. They pulled away after a moment, breathless, their foreheads resting against each other's. Wayan whispered after calming her racing heart. What do we do now? Taehyung chuckled softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Now we stop pretending. I'm tired of hiding. Wayan smiled, her heart swelling at his words. Are you sure? I mean, our families, my brother. Taehyung's eyes sparkled with mischief once again. Your brother will be fine. I'm his best friend, remember? Besides, I think we have kept this a secret for long enough. She couldn't help but giggle softly. He was right. They had spent too long pretending to be enemies when in reality they had been falling for each other from the start. Taehyung leaned back, still holding her hand as he admired the henna again. Looks like your mehendi artist knew what she was doing after all. Wan rolled her eyes, though her smile didn't fade. Yeah, yeah, don't let it get to your head. But later during the ceremony, as she looked at Taehyung sitting beside her with his hands still gently holding hers and doing all the things, from getting her food and drinks to holding phone while she talked just so she wouldn't ruin the henna, she knew that the things were about to change. No more hiding, no more pretending. And honestly, she was ready for it.